What's going on, everybody? Justin here with From Zero to Studio, and today we're talking about vocal editing, and specifically, your next steps after you record a bunch of vocal takes. Let's dive in. So after you finish recording your vocals, you're going to be left with a bunch of different takes throughout each part of the song. And we're going to be using a process called comping, which is going to allow you to pick and choose through each of those takes to decide what you like best and what's going to make the final cut in your vocal composition. Now, if during the tracking process you've taken some detailed notes on which takes you liked, things that you didn't like, this is going to help to cut down on some of the time here. Now, you might have some vocal takes that sound great all the way through, and those you can leave as is. But if you favor a certain word or phrase in a different take, you can comp it together to create the perfect vocal. So what comping is doing, it's slicing two audio tracks at the same position, and it's replacing one recorded take with another, typically a better performance. And this is going to allow you to choose through all of your vocal parts to create the best vocal for your song. Now, the great thing about vocal comping is that most DAWs now have a feature built right into the software to make this easy. Here in Cubase, I think it was released around Cubase 6 or 7, and prior to that, I used to have to either drag tracks down, and then I could solo those tracks and listen to those parts, or I would actually have to make slices in between each line, and then I could listen through and delete the ones that didn't make the cut. Thankfully, now for the lanes feature, you can simply drop down the lane and show all of your different recorded takes. The take that's highlighted is going to be your current active take that you're listening to. However, with using either the hand function or by simply clicking on this little box at the bottom in Cubase, you can choose the take that you want to hear. Now, if we go back to that hand function, what's great about this feature is that it makes it easy to choose parts from different takes. For instance, if you like the first line from this highlighted take, but the second line sounded better from this take, you simply click and drag. Now, once you make that cut, it also slices all of the tracks at that same point. So I could then go through, play this on loop, and cycle through those parts. This also allows you to get super specific with it. Maybe that first take was great all the way through except for this single word. I can go right in there, highlight here, and I can listen to that word on different takes. And what I suggest doing is actually putting a loop on the segment that you want to listen to. That way your ears are only focused on that part. You don't have to stop and restart the segment over, and you only have to pay attention to whether you like the take or not. I also recommend that you listen into smaller chunks. You can see with my loop here that I split this line up into two halves. The first half has two vocal lines that are similar in the rhythm and the melody, while the second half gets a little bit busier and it actually drops pretty low in the singer's register. So I want to make sure that I can focus on that part in detail without being distracted by the first two lines. So in a situation like this, I'm going to cycle through the first two vocal parts, choose my final takes. Once that's completed, I'll move on to the second half and then continue working my way through the song. Now, once you finish choosing all of the parts that you want to keep, you can simply close that lane and you can see that all of those chosen parts are brought right to the top of the track. This then makes it easy to go ahead and crossfade all these parts. And you can have smooth transitions from one to the next. Now, one thing to note when using a comping feature like this, if you happen to be splitting up any words or phrases that aren't during a breath gap or any little space in the track, the parts might not align perfectly and you may have to adjust a track left or right so that the line sounds natural from one word to the next. This is typically only an issue if you're getting super detailed and trying to take a word out of the middle of a phrase. In most cases, when you're focusing on a little bit larger sections and you're splitting at the gaps in between vocal phrases, your cuts and comped parts should have no issues aligning. Of course, after you finish all of your comps, you're going to want to listen through the entire track and make sure you don't have any weird splits or crossfades in the middle of two breaths. You want it to sound like one continuous vocal throughout the song. So that's my process for selecting through different vocal takes and comping them together. And my biggest piece of advice with that is to take notes while recording. It's going to make for a much faster and smoother comping process. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Now, as you're working on improving your recording and mixing skills, if you want a guide that'll walk you through every step of the process from songwriting and recording up through mixing and mastering, you can download the roadmap to a radio-ready song. This guide covers 5 steps that'll help you take your song from sounding like a demo to sounding pro, and you can download it absolutely free as my gift to you. by going to FromZeroToStudio.com/roadmap, or by clicking the link below in the description, and you can start improving how you're creating and capturing your music. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I'll see you on another video soon.